Okay, in this presentation, we'll talk about network forensics and some very powerful tools to analyze the traffic on the network to help protect your business and organization. Network forensics covers quite a range of details. If we look at it, there's a lot of data that goes through the network. A lot of this data is in little packets of little data, ones and zeros, nobody can make any sense out of. So we have to take these packets, we have to first capture them, and then once we capture all these packets, we have to kind of line them up and say which users go with which packets, and then we have to look at each packet, kind of assemble them, and then try to decode them and put them back together into maybe a conversation in MSN, or maybe a file that was transferred by FTP. So that's the data reconstruction. And then, to the reporting side, we have to put this data in an organized way so people can be able to do searches, look at it, and go back and review from different points of view to search out those things that might be problems. For network traffic capture, there's a couple of different areas to consider. There's a wired network and wireless network. In a wired network, there may be a number of different equipments, firewall, router, servers, maybe different network subnets. Potentially there can be traffic flowing in various parts of your network. We have a tool, the key detective, that we can place in certain key spots where the data is coming in or at various spots inside the network to collect this critical low-level packet data so that we can analyze it and so you can go in and detect various anomalies. In the wireless network, the same thing. We have a wireless detective that can capture the data in the wireless area and do the same thing. Collect the packets, collect the data, analyze it, allow you to trace key things. Deep packet inspection technology is a very important thing. We don't just capture the packets at the low level. We capture the packets and we can analyze the content. So one of the first things we have to do is collect all these packets and sort them out according to which user session. And then we can sort them out according to which representation, which application. For example, there may be 100 users in the system. Each user may be using 3 or 4 different things: email, FTP, Facebook, and perhaps Twitter, other things. So we have to sort out all these packets, sort them out, organize them back to the stream that they relate to, and then decode and put that application back together. What that means is we can reconstruct the content so that you can go in and analyze and actually go in and look and see what was that MSN session, what were those people chatting about for 3 hours in the middle of the night. Now, a very important thing is that in the internet, there's really hundreds of protocols. Just for example, there's MSN, there's ICQ. Some companies outlaw MSN. And so what do the employees do? They might use QQ as a chat, to kind of do the secret chat. Obviously, if people are trying to cheat the company, they're going to avoid email because they probably know email is monitored. So they're going to probably try one of those chats or Twitter or something like that, or file transfer. So the key is the analysis system is really not very useful if you can't detect all of the major protocols. So for example, we detect over 180 different protocols in service and can decode them back into the original data so that you can look at the content of what people were really sending out or receiving. This is very, very important to be able to cover and detect and kind of uncover the anomalies or the things that you need to investigate. The data presentation is another important thing. We have statistical data, which can summarize based on different categories of data, such as information by record and, for example, total numbers of files that are sent and received and all sorts of things like that. But more importantly is this primary data analysis, where that you can go into a category and you can do a text search and look for certain keywords like money or commission or payment or something. You can do data scoping, which means you can go in by a certain user, by a certain time range, to make it easier to pinpoint something. You can go in and do link analysis to see where's the data coming from, or where's the direction. You can mark or register certain files so you can track their activity. And then very important is that we have an open interface so that this can be connected to your external applications and external data mining analysis. Data mining is really the most powerful part. Our e-detective tools allow you to go in and look at this very detailed data, which is sorted and organized by user, by type of service, such as MSN or by Twitter, and you can go in and you can really select and scope out the kind of area you're looking for. This is a very, very powerful thing because you'll be able to see what that user actually transferred to somebody else. It's not just bits of zeros and ones anymore. So this is very powerful. You can go in by keyword and do a link analysis and say, I want to look at Twitter sorts of things, or I want to look at things from this account name. You can do identity mapping by IP or account name. This is very important because some users have multiple accounts. Maybe one user might use another person's PC to do their data. And then there's statistics. We can look at bandwidth. You could say, for example, why is somebody sending 10 gigabytes of files at 10 p.m. at night? And then the other important thing is that we have an open interface. And what this means is why do you need network analysis? Basically, 80% of data inside of your laptop is from the network. The network is really the major communication tool. And what this means is that if there's fraud or there's crime or there's something inappropriate, it's probably going to go through the network. So the key is you have to be able to catch or to detect or to analyze network information. One of the big problems is that you'd like to be able to do this in a non-intrusive way. If you do this in a way where you intrude, then people simply stop or do a different way. And so it's very important to be able to do this in background without disturbing anybody on the other side. If and when you detect something, then that's the time to intrude and take action. Now, one of the key points is a lot of the data in a network is volatile. That means, for example, if I send a message by MSN to my friend, and if it's something sensitive and we delete the message afterward, and they delete the message, if they're clever, there's not much of a trace. Maybe there's a trace somewhere in the system, but the little bit more professional person, they can get rid of that too. So the key is, how do you track this kind of volatile data that's only through the network for a limited time? The answer is we have an e-detective advanced surveillance type software which can capture all of this data, both volatile and non-volatile. Now, why is this important, or why do you want to be able to do this? Because really, there's a lot of content in the communication. And if we can capture that content, that's the easiest way to detect if there's any problem going on. We want to be able to know, for example, what's the route of this message or this data, or perhaps your confidential financial file that's being sent out someplace. We want to be able to identify and connect or comprehend the social relationships, who's talking to who, or what system is talking to who, or what path is this data going out of your company. And this is the way you can control this, prevent problems. Who needs network forensics? Basically, officials of law enforcement agencies. For example, there may be some sort of an ongoing fraud in a bank. And in order to detect that fraud, probably the people are very sophisticated. They're probably not leaving any traces behind. So it needs a powerful tool like our e-detective to go in and capture that transient data, that volatile data, and record it so that the officials of the law enforcement agencies can analyze it, collect this evidence, and take action. Same thing, IT security manager in a large enterprise, there's a lot of potential for fraud. In a large company, even like Walmart, they discovered there's some fraud in one of their branches in another country. And so the key is you couldn't detect that kind of fraud very easily. But if you have our kind of e-detective internal system, which is capturing this volatile data and all sorts of data in the network packet, it could be easy to detect that kind of problem. And then marketing management, for example, in telecom service providers, or in general in telecom. This is a very powerful tool to stay compliant with government rules and laws. There are many, many laws that require telecoms to have logs, documents, whatever, to kind of be able to identify where something came from. So this is a way to stay compliant and prevent abuse of the system. For accounting firms, for the auditors, for these kind of areas, this is also very, very important to be able to have internal traces going on to just make sure that there's no under the table or no illegal sort of activity. Same thing in a school or a parent of a household. You want to be able to monitor to prevent various kind of problems happening for the children or the students or something like that, whether it's cyberbullying or whether it's some other kind of criminal problems or illegal things. And what is this for? The key is that cybercrime investigation, there's many, many areas where this kind of network analysis is extremely powerful and critical. The cybercrime investigation, basically really have to require an advanced tool like our e-detective to be able to capture it, to trace it, to detect it, and also to be alerted and to be able to take action more quickly. For IT security management, in many, many large companies, there's data breaches. There's somebody who's taking data and sending it to their friend at another company somewhere, take advantage of something. There's people that are just abusing the network and wasting their time on gambling sites or other sorts of things. So it's very important to be able to trace that activity and spot something unusual. For example, if user XYZ was downloading 6 gigabytes of files a day and they're in sales or they're in accounting, you would wonder what in the world do they need to download 6 gigabytes worth every day. So it's a waste of the computer and the company's resource. And it could be a breach more serious. For audit and risk management, especially for financial service institutions such as banking, for security, it's very, very important to track those little messages that are sent back and forth by MSN or by Twitter or whatever sorts of things, because there may be certain things where somebody is basically slipping out data, maybe leaking the important information to their friend, and their friend is basically buying stock on inside information or something. So this is a high risk in terms of liability and other areas for banks. But you can manage all of this kind of data by having e-decision to track that detailed data and having the record. And then mandates. There are many mandates now in various governments around the world where that you're required to trace or track things like all email or various other things. In a company, it's becoming more and more important to be able to trace all kinds of communication related to the company. Not just email, but those other 179 protocols as well. For national security, It's very, very important to be able to monitor all of the activity going in and out of the system, particularly the external access to the system. Same thing for abnormal behavior control. For sexual harassment and blackmail, there's many, many areas where the cyber crime and basically things related to the internet or to the computer, hacking or whatever, is a serious problem. So we need to be able to detect, to track, to collect the evidence, and to be able to block such things. Some of the difficulties of network forensics. There's a lot of challenges, and so we have to consider that the network structure, first of all, it can change over time. And when you put in some sort of a solution, the solution has to be flexible. The network bandwidth limitation, the system that's installed or the solution may or may not have enough bandwidth to actually capture all the data and be able to analyze it. There's different media. There's Wi-Fi. There's wired networks. There's basically different hubs, different sections of the network. There's subnets. And so one also has to consider how to place these tools in what location. There's the area of data packet loss. There can be some networks which are overloaded. So we have to also look at the performance and throughput. There's things like encrypted data. Not only encrypted data, but a lot of protocols is kind of encoded. So there's the protocol issue, where you have lots of different protocols to unencrypt and try to look at. For eDetective, we have a powerful solution to answer all of these issues. So eDetective is a very powerful internet surveillance and forensic analysis system. It's the best solution from a practical point of view because we cover a very wide range of protocols, and because of the fact that we can do content reconstruction for a lot of the different protocols. And this means that the forensic analysis and the cyber investigation is much more powerful because we can go in and pull out the details for all of those 180 different kinds of protocols, like Twitter, whatever. So this is a very powerful tool. It's the most advanced way to do network surveillance or lawful interception and network forensics. Basically, from the sniffing, capture some data, the decoding of those packets, reconstructing it into the original data, then storing it for evidence and management, and then being able to go in and analyze, the search, do what if, look for certain users, certain words. This is very powerful, and it's real time. This is an example of a distributed solution. Our eDetective solutions are very flexible. They can be in a distributed solution, or they can be in a centralized solution. You can also have a mixed solution, where that you have more than one. So this is a very powerful way to be able to look at your network and see where's the data going through, and where would you like to place our eDetective systems to capture that data at key points. And then those systems can collect the data into a data retention center for long-term storage, for evidence and analysis, and also for a central management server. And this makes it very, very easy for your analysis and your agencies to be able to go in and review the data, analyze the data, pull out potentially things to look into further, and then dig in deeper and actually detect and solve certain problems. Professional training is a very important thing, and eDetective and our tools are very powerful. They're very capable tools for network forensics. However, to use the tools the best way really requires some professional training so that your people can get the most value out of these tools. So we provide some very valuable training in small classes that are easy to really learn from and easy to get maximum value, where that our instructors are really experienced people, and they can give you a wide range of skills in terms of what are the typical kinds of fraud, how you can investigate the details, how you can set up the systems, how you can organize things, and really use the tools to their most power. And the 3-day course basically covers not only the kinds of training, like I just mentioned, but it also covers area where you can look at how would you set up these systems in your organization and how can you manage these systems. So in total, we provide not only our eDetective very advanced software for this basically analysis and this kind of network analysis and kind of looking at the surveillance details and everything, but we also provide very strong consulting and delivery services. We can provide a assessment in terms of your current setup and your systems and how to deploy to have the most protected plan. We can go in and help you with data analysis and text mining and basically make the system more powerful. From extensive training programs, like I mentioned, that we have Train the Trainer. We have some very complete training programs that can give you a broad picture and a very detailed level to really how to use the tools well. And then we have a future development plan. The future development plan, of course, we have updates and upgrades, and very important that we can provide services to help you integrate our solution with your back-end systems and your IT systems to integrate into your environment the way you want to use them. As a general kind of picture, what we do is we have a very powerful network forensic solutions, and that can help you to build very trustful and secure cyber business and IT systems environment, which are not only very powerful but also very friendly and easy to use. This is the most powerful way to protect your business and your organization. To contact us, you can contact us at decision.com.tw, and our URL is http://www.edecision4u4.com. And we thank you very much for looking at our presentation.